Hello friends, this is Sanjay. In this series, we will cover all the important concepts and topics from the Bharatiya Sakshya Adhiniyam 2023. The description for every video will have the timestamps for the topics covered in that part. And there is also a link to the lawment.com website where you will find the complete index for all the topics from all the parts of this video series. Let us start with a little bit of a background about the Bharatiya Sakshya Adhiniyam 2023. Till up to June 2024, criminal law in India was primarily based on the Indian Penal Code, the Code of Criminal Procedure and the Indian Evidence Act. And as you can see, they were really old. Of course, these legislations which we inherited from British India had been amended and updated quite a few times. But eventually it was time to just replace them. In 2023, the government introduced the Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita Bill, the Nagarik Suraksha Sanhita Bill and the Bharatiya Sakshya Bill. But there were some gaps, there were some issues with these newly introduced bills, so they were withdrawn. And later, 3 new modified bills were introduced with the word second in their titles. These second bills were eventually passed in the Parliament in December 2023 and they came into force from the 1st of July of 2024. Since we are studying about the law of evidence, we should first understand the concept of evidence. The word evidence is derived from the Latin word evidence, which means to show clearly or to prove or to give evidence of. From a legal point of view, evidence is essentially anything that helps to prove or disprove a fact in a court of law. Evidence is the information presented to the court to help the court in deciding what is true and what is not. Evidence can take many forms, including objects, documents, and spoken words. For example, if the situation is about a phone which has been stolen by someone, the physical evidence can be the stolen phone itself, if it is recovered, or it can be something that the thief dropped while running away with the stolen phone. Documentary evidence can be the sales receipt proving ownership of the phone. It can also be the CCTV recording showing the phone being stolen. Or it can be oral evidence such as the testimony from a witness who saw the phone being stolen. The term evidence is defined in section 2(1)(e) of the Bharatiya Sakshya Adhiniyam 2023. And this definition covers oral evidence and documentary evidence. And more importantly, the definition explicitly includes electronic records as documentary evidence. I would suggest that you should download a PDF copy of the BARE Act so that you can refer to the specific sections as and when we discuss about them in this series. What is the historical background, the reason and the objectives of the law of evidence in India? Before 1872, there was no single legislation covering the law of evidence. It was majorly left to the local customs or the traditions of the different regions of India, or to the discretion of the judge who was deciding the case. The original Indian Evidence Act of 1872 was enacted by the British to bring in a clear set of rules about what can be considered as proof in the court of law. The Indian Evidence Act served quite well for more than 150 years, especially since it was being updated periodically. But with so many changes in the society and in technology, a need was felt to have a new law. So the Bharatiya Sakshya Adhiniyam was enacted to modernize the evidence law, making it more relevant to contemporary India and to streamline the legal process. The objective of the BSA is to ensure fair trials by establishing clear rules on what can be considered as valid evidence in the court of law. And this point is clearly stated in the preamble of the BSA. The most important reason for replacing the IEA with the BSA was that the Indian Evidence Act had become outdated. Though it was amended many times, the foundation of the Indian Evidence Act was still based on traditional documentary evidence, whereas the new law, the BSA, is specifically designed to accommodate digital evidence as well. Next, let us take a quick look at the fundamental principles of the law of evidence. Now, fundamental principles mean the core ideas or the foundation that evidence law is built upon. The first one is relevance. The evidence must be logically connected to the fact that it is trying to prove. In other words, the evidence should matter to the case. For example, in a car accident case, evidence that the driver was using a mobile phone while driving is relevant to show negligence, whereas evidence about the driver's favorite food is irrelevant. The second principle is admissibility. Even if some evidence is relevant, it must be legally allowed or admissible to be presented in the court. There are rules about what evidence is acceptable and what is not. For example, a confession, if it has been obtained through torture, even if it is relevant, is not admissible in court. The third principle is burden of proof, which determines who is responsible for proving their version of events. Generally, in criminal cases, the prosecution must prove that the accused is guilty, whereas in civil cases, the claimant or the litigant must prove their claim. If you look at how the BSA is structured, it broadly follows the same fundamental principles. Sections 3 to 50 cover the relevancy of facts. Sections 54 to 103 cover the admissibility of evidence. And sections 104 to 120 cover the burden of proof. Next, let us look at the nature and the purpose of law of evidence in civil and criminal cases. Here we will touch upon the concept of standard of proof. In civil cases, the acceptable standard of proof is usually preponderance of probability, which essentially means that the proof is required to prove that it is more probable than not that what the litigant or the claimant is claiming is true. In other words, the purpose of evidence in civil cases is to help the court in deciding which version of the events is more likely to be true. In criminal cases, the standard of proof is much higher. The prosecution, which is the state, has to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that the accused has committed the crime. The logic behind this difference is quite simple. In criminal trials, the potential consequences, such as the imprisonment or fines or even capital punishment, are so severe that the prosecution must prove beyond any reasonable doubt that the accused has actually committed the crime. On the other hand, in civil cases, the disputes are usually over issues like contracts, property, or torts, where the outcome may involve restitution or financial compensation rather than a loss of liberty. So the standard of proof required in civil cases is lower. What are the aims, objectives, and applicability of the Bharatiya Sakshya Adhiniyam? This one is quite simple. The Bharatiya Sakshya Adhiniyam was enacted to replace the outdated Indian Evidence Act of 1872. The main aims, therefore, are modernization, which is to update the law to include and properly address modern forms of evidence, especially electronic and digital evidence. Next one is efficiency, which is to streamline the process of evidence presentation and admissibility in court, particularly concerning digital records. And relevance, which is to ensure that the law remains relevant in the current technological and social context. For example, the old Indian Evidence Act was drafted and enacted when people were still writing or typing out letters and documents, which would be sent out as physical copies. Whereas these days, almost all communication happens online through emails or WhatsApp, and even signatures have become digital. Because of BSA, electronic records like WhatsApp messages or server logs, which were previously treated as secondary evidence, can now be considered as primary evidence if they meet certain conditions. This makes it easier to use digital communications as proof in various courts. The BSA is applicable to all judicial proceedings in all courts in India, including civil and criminal cases. It specifies what types of evidence can be presented and how they should be evaluated by the courts. This applicability is specifically stated in section 1(2), which states that the Act applies to all judicial proceedings in or before any court, but not to affidavits presented to any court or officer, nor to proceedings before an arbitrator. Next, let us quickly compare the BSA and the IEA. First of all, the BSA is not a completely new law. It is rather a replacement and a modernization of the Indian Evidence Act of 1872. Many core provisions of the old Indian Evidence Act are retained in the new BSA. The key changes in the new law include focus on digital evidence. The BSA gives much more prominence and clarity to the admissibility of electronic and digital records. For example, under the Indian Evidence Act, proving electronic records often required plenty of additional steps to certify their authenticity as secondary evidence. Whereas the BSA simplifies this by treating properly maintained electronic records as primary evidence, similar to physical documents. Updated definitions. The definitions of several terms such as document and evidence are expanded to explicitly include electronic records. Streamlined procedures. The Bharatiya Sakshya Adhiniyam aims to simplify the process of admitting electronic evidence. This is done through recognizing electronic evidence as documentary evidence and also by removing some of the requirements to confirm its validity. The next point is modern language. The language of the law is updated to be more contemporary and inclusive. And some of the old and outdated terms from the Indian Evidence Act, especially colonial terms such as Parliament of the United Kingdom, Provincial Act, London Gazette, Privy Council, Queen's Printer, and Her Majesty, have been removed. Also, terms like vakil, pleader, and barrister have been replaced with advocate. And terms like lunatic have also been replaced with more sensitive terminologies like a person of unsound mind. But while the other changes may be minor, the most significant change between the IEA and the BSA are with regards to how electronic or digital evidence is recognized and admitted as valid evidence. Moving on to the changes introduced in the law of evidence by the Bharatiya Sakshya Adhiniyam 2023, the first change obviously is the primary status being given to electronic records. That is, electronic records are now considered as primary evidence, enhancing their evidentiary value. Next is expanded definition of the term documents. The definition of document now explicitly includes electronic records, broadening the scope of documentary evidence. The third one is electronic oral evidence. By way of the previous 2 points, the BSA allows for oral evidence to be presented electronically, facilitating remote testimony, which means that the court can now allow a person to give testimony through audio or video conferencing. Then there is the recognition of digital signatures, wherein the BSA provides a legal framework for the admissibility of digital signatures and evidence. And finally, the updated terminology. The BSA replaces outdated terms and phrases in the older Act with modern and inclusive language. What are some of the other newly inserted provisions or changes in the BSA as compared to the older Evidence Act? Apart from increasing the scope of electronic evidence, the BSA also includes other new provisions. The scope of expert opinion has been broadened. It has been expanded to include any area where expert knowledge is required and not just limited to fields like handwriting or fingerprints as it was in the older IEA. Section 39 of the Bharatiya Sakshya Adhiniyam corresponds to Section 45 of the Indian Evidence Act, but it is broader in scope. For example, in cases involving complex technologies, expert opinions from fields like data science or cybersecurity can be more easily admitted. Judicial notice of international treaties. Courts can now take judicial notice of international treaties and agreements to which India is a party. Section 55 of the BSA is a new insertion. This section may be important in various international commercial disputes. Since international treaties are mostly public knowledge and can be verified easily through government sources, courts can directly consider such international treaties if they are relevant to a case, without needing any specific proof of these treaties. So it speeds up the resolution process. And the definition of secondary evidence has been broadened to include oral and written admissions and the testimony of persons skilled in examining documents. Section 58 of the BSA expands on the Section 63 of the Indian Evidence Act. Another interesting point in the Bharatiya Sakshya Adhiniyam is the explicit link between the BSA and other relevant legislations, specifically the Information Technology Act and the other 2 new criminal laws, the Nyaya Sanhita and the Nagarik Suraksha Sanhita. Section 2.2 states that words and expressions used in the BSA which are not defined under this legislation but are defined under the IT Act or the Nagarik Suraksha Sanhita or the Nyaya Sanhita shall have the same meaning as assigned to them under those legislations. For example, the term electronic signature may not be exhaustively defined in the BSA 2023. In such a case, the definition of electronic signature from the Information Technology Act would be used to interpret the term wherever it appears in the Bharatiya Sakshya Adhiniyam. This linkage has been done to avoid repetition and to ensure consistency across legal codes. And finally, what is the role of the judiciary, particularly the appellate judiciary, which are the high courts and the Supreme Court, in updating the rules of evidence law by judicial creativity. Over the past few years, technology has been changing so rapidly that it is practically impossible for evidence law to address all possible situations. For example, if I create a painting using an AI image generator, who owns the copyright for that image? Me or the company which created the AI image generator? Or the artists whose paintings were used to train the AI system? Similarly, if a self-driving taxi causes an accident, who is to blame? The company operating the taxi or the company which built the taxi? Judges, especially in appellate courts, that is the high courts and the Supreme Court, play a crucial role in interpreting and applying the law of evidence. So this term judicial creativity refers to how courts adapt and update laws through their judgments, especially when faced with new situations or ambiguities. In evidence law, this is particularly important because technology and societal norms evolve and the law needs to remain relevant. So courts can do this by interpreting ambiguous provisions, that is, by clarifying what certain sections of the law will mean in practical situations, by applying laws to new technologies, that is, by deciding how existing evidence laws will apply to new forms of evidence like social media posts or AI generated data, and by setting precedents, because judgments in key cases become guidelines for lower courts and for future similar cases, effectively updating the application of evidence law. With that, I will end this session here. If you have any questions or feedback, post a comment below. I will see you soon in the next part of this series. Take care and Jai Hind.